Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Debunking Fitness by Kay. I am your host, Kirsten, and this is a podcast where we break down fitness myths, expose diet culture, lies, and help you build a sustainable, healthy lifestyle based on science, not fads. And today we're going to be tackling a super common belief, which is the more you sweat, the more fat you burn, which I've heard this one so many times. Raise your hand if you've ever thought, wow, and drenched after that workout, I must have torched some serious fat. I burned so much fat that workout. I sweat so much. Hey, I get it because sweat makes us all feel like we worked super hard, but does that actually mean that we burned more fat? Let's talk about that. Today, we're breaking down using real science, not Instagram fitness myths. So let's first understand what sweat actually is and why our body produces it. So sweat is your body's cooling system. It's a built-in air conditioning system, basically. It's built-in air conditioning unit designed to help you regulate your body's temperature. That's the whole reason why you sweat. It's there to help you cool down. How it works is whenever your internal temperature rises in your body, either from exercise, weather, stress, whatever it may be, your sweat glands will then release fluid onto your skin, and that evaporation of your sweat will cool you down. So it's all based in physics, basically. So you are outside living in Arizona. You start sweating because your body is hot, needs to cool down. You are like me in an interview for a job. I get so sweaty and I am just like so stressed out. So I start sweating to cool my body down because my whole body regulated, or my whole body temperature is just skyrocketing. And so a study in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that sweat rate actually varies drastically between individuals based on their genetics, fitness level, age, sex, environment, and humidity levels, meaning that some people will actually sweat more than others doing the exact same workout. For example, I always sweat more than my partner came in. I am always drenched in sweat, as opposed to him who hardly ever sweats at all. Doesn't mean that we're not burning the same amount of calories. Honestly, he burns more calories than I do because we both wear our Whoop watches, which takes into account your heart rate, your um, age, gender, weight, whatever. All your what are those called? Biographics, your biological facts about yourself. Takes all of those into account. Anyway, so we could be doing the exact same workout. Honestly, sometimes same weight, same reps, same everything, and I am drenched in sweat, and he is not. That does not mean that I'm burning more calories than him. It just means that his body's built a little bit differently than mine. The lucky guy. Anyway, but let's move on to the real fat burning process because that's what actually people actually care about. If you're not sweating more and burning fat, or if you feel like sweating more is burning you fat, but it's actually not, then how the heck do you actually burn fat? Let's talk about it. So fat loss is not about how much you sweat. Duh, we already covered that. But it's about your energy balance and your metabolic process. And so whenever you burn your fat, your body breaks down stored triglycerides, which is basically um sugars, just stored sugars in your body, into glycerol and fatty or free fatty acids. Free fatty acids are used in a different cycle to help you burn energy and create energy, ATP, whereas the glycerol is used more immediately and the free fatty acids are used for longevity of workouts. And so all of these molecules are used, one, for energy for your body, two, they're then converted into carbon dioxide and water, and then three, are exhaled through your breath and released through your sweat and urine. So whenever you are working out, sometimes this happens to me all the time too. Sometimes whenever you work out, you have to pee and you're like, I haven't been drinking any water. Why do I have to pee so much? And that it could just be because you're having a very intense workout and your body is burning so much energy in your system that it's releasing that water either through urine, which is what's making you pee, or your sweat, which is what people think is burning fat. But truthfully, that is how your body creates energy and burns I want to say burns your fat too, is through the breaking down of those and utilization of those molecules. A study in the British Medical Journal found that 84% of fat loss is actually exhaled as CO2. and 16% is excreted as water, which I think is crazy. Basically, that just means that whenever you are working out and burning calories, you're going to be exhaling that mostly, not really sweating it out. Fascinating. So you don't sweat out fat, you breathe out fat. But what really determines fat loss is a whole myriad of things. One being calorie deficit. If you are in a calorie deficit, which means that you are burning more calories than you are consuming, then that will help you create a fat loss in your body. And this is something I was talking with my client about, one of my clients about this morning, which is in order to be in a calorie deficit, you just need to be eating less than what your body needs in life to live, survive, maintain. You eat less than your maintaining amount, and then you will create a deficit, and your body will pull from its already existing energy stores, your fat, and create energy out of it, which is those free fatty acids that are used to create energy. Anyway, but that is the one way that you burn fat. The other way is through strength training and muscle growth, because muscle will burn more calories at rest. That's why all fitness influencers really push strength training, because it is based in science and it's based in fact that the more muscle that you have, the more energy it's required to maintain your muscle. Therefore, you are more inclined to burn more calories at rest. That's why a lot of the time, whenever you are, for example, someone who does not eat a lot of food chronically over time, you start to lose muscle mass because your body is taking the thing that's requiring energy to live, breathe, survive, continue on going. It's taking the energy from the muscle that you are not using, because it's basically costing you more calories than you are giving yourself, so that your body can create the homeostasis. But whenever you have more muscle, then you will burn more calories. And whenever you maintain those muscles, aka through strength training, then you will continue to burn more calories. Another way is your daily movement, or your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, aka walking, doing the dishes, cleaning the house, picking up after your kids, chasing your kids around, going on walks with your kids, whatever. I already said walking, but all of those things add up to be calories that your body is doing outside of sitting, breathing, and doing nothing. This doesn't require a lot of calories to do. But whenever you're walking around like a crazy person, you're burning a lot more calories. And then lastly, hormonal balance will determine fat loss. So your cortisol levels, insulin levels, metabolism regulation, all of those things have massive factors in your fat loss. And a big thing when working with women clients and female clients is to help them regulate their hormones, so that their hormones have more of a balance in their body, so they are more inclined to burn fat as opposed to retaining it. So the bottom line is that fat loss happens inside your body, and it's not something that you can physically see through sweat. Okay, bottom line. So if sweat does not equal fat burn, then why do some workouts make you feel like you, or not even feel like, just cause you to sweat buckets while others don't? Here are some sweat triggers for you, and here's what actually affects how much you sweat. So workout intensity, HIIT workouts like sprinting, heavy lifting, doing high intensity stuff will generate more heat in your body, causing you to sweat more. So for example, leg days, usually people lift fairly heavy on leg days. That will cause a little bit more of a heat increase in your body, causing you to sweat more. So that's why it feels like you're doing a lot more. And truthfully, you will burn a little bit more calories doing that, but the difference between um, doing a leg day and sweating more, and then doing an arm day and sweating a little bit less, is not a massive difference, because you are still working your body in different ways. But sweating does create a little bit more of a calorie deficit, or not calorie deficit, but like you burn more calories when you sweat more, because your body is trying to cool your body down, but it's pretty not negotiable. Anyway, something else that affects your body and how much you sweat is temperature and humidity. So a hot yoga class is an example of a temperature heavy type of workout versus a weightlifting session in AC. Both of those feel incredibly different. Whenever you're in the AC, your body's getting cooled regularly by the air. If you're in a hot yoga class, hot, stiff, not so much moving air makes you sweat a lot more. Um, your muscle activation. So full compound exercises raise body temperature more than isolation movements. So if you were doing pull-ups or push-ups, you're going to burn a lot more fat than if you were to do bicep curls or tricep extensions. Because those ones are a little bit more isolation movements, and your push-ups and your pull-ups are more compound. And then your genetics and conditioning. So trained individuals, people who are conditioned more to working out, will sweat earlier, or they'll sweat a little bit less because their bodies have adapted to it. So they're not as adept to sweating because their bodies are used to it. A 2017 study in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research compared cardio versus strength training and found that cardio workouts actually lead to more sweat output, whereas weight training resulted in a higher post workout calorie burn, which is your EPOC effect, which is basically your body's inclination to continue burning calories after you're done with the movement. So, like 2 hours after you're done weight training, you're still burning calories, as opposed to cardio, where you are running or whatever, and then once you stop doing the activity, you stop burning the fat and you stop burning the calories. And so just because you sweat more in one workout does not mean that you've burned more fat. The weight there's a weight fluctuation confusion. I feel like that happens a lot, and I've heard this a lot, where a lot of people mainly believe the myth that if you sweat more, you work out more, because they see immediate changes on the scale after a sweaty workout. And what's really happening is that you are having water weight loss. You are not losing fat. It makes it feel like you should be, but truthfully, you are not. You don't burn fat that fast. You if you are in a true calorie deficit and you are truthfully trying avidly hard to lose body fat, it's as slow as a pound a week. Truthfully, it's very slow. And so whenever you have a really sweaty workout and you're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna weigh myself before and after the workout." Before the workout, I weighed 158. After the workout, 149. I lost 9 pounds. That is water loss. Rehydrating will help bring your weight back up. So as soon as you start drinking water, your body will weigh more. That is, and your body is what, like 60% water. So like you have a lot of water to lose. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that athletes who lost 2 to 3% of their body weight through sweat regained it within 24 hours after rehydration. So I'm sure that if you were to do that crazy workout, lose 9 pounds in one gym session, or whatever, give it 24, 48 hours, you'll have that 9 pounds back without working out. If you continue to just, like, drink water, refuel, rehydrate, eat, drink, whatever, blah, you'll gain it all back. That 2-pound loss after you see your hot yoga class, it's just water loss. You're not burning fat. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry to break it to you, but you are not. So, what actually burns fat? Let's summarize what really works for fat loss. I've kind of already touched on this before, but what is actually going to burn this fat? And that is your calorie deficit. Fat loss requires consistently burning more than you consume. Calories in, calories out. That is truth. That is science. This is across the board. You'll find it everywhere. Okay. Calories in, calories out. Strength training will absolutely burn fat because lifting weights will increase your muscle mass and your metabolism, causing you to burn more calories at rest without doing anything. Neat movement, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is walking, standing, everyday movement. They burn more calories than you actually think. Doing the dishes, walking around your house, picking up your house, moving stuff around, whatever that may be, you will burn more calories than you actually think. Another way is adequate sleep and stress management. So poor sleep equals more cravings, which equals higher cortisol. Higher cortisol equals imbalanced hormones, equals you're holding on to your fat and your water and everything, and you will not be able to burn that fat whenever you are stressed the heck out, because your body is not focused on that. It's putting all of that energy to your brain. It's putting all that energy to your organs. You're just trying to survive. And then last but not least, having balanced nutrition. It is so important to have balanced nutrition. Whole foods, protein, fiber, healthy fats, all that good stuff will help your body to have the nutrients that it needs to survive and have the adequate amount of calories and macronutrients to create a fat loss effect. So the key takeaway is you can sweat as much as you want. Absolutely. You can sweat as much as you want. But if your nutrition and training are not dialed in, then you won't see real fat loss. I'm just going to be very honest with you. You won't. So let's recap. Sweating does not equal fat burning. It's just how your body cools itself off. That's it. So fat loss happens through energy balance, not through your sweat glands. And then do not judge workouts based off of your sweat output. Judge them by their effectiveness and consistency. Judge them by how well they are working with your body as opposed to just how much you sweat. If I were to go outside in my beautiful outdoor Arizona, which my door is right there, and it is 95 degrees on the other side of that door. If I were to go out there and just go jog as opposed to jogging at 6 a.m., and it's 1 p.m., I'm gonna be sweating so much more, but I'm still doing the same output, the same work. Last but not least, before I let you go, I actually part of this podcast, I do spooky stories. If you've never been here before, welcome. This is what I like to do because whenever you debunk fitness, you also have to debunk the paranormal. And so this one is called "Is This a Sign?" And we are going to read the story. So, okay. This might be a long one, but I really need some spiritual guidance and advice and other people's perspective on this, but I'll keep it short and sweet and to the point. Back in 2017, I moved into my first new bachelor apartment and I had issues with my neighbor downstairs. I ended up calling the cops on him one night because he inappropriately touched me. So the cop came. He was very charming and good looking. He was exactly my type. Long story short, he arrested the guy and the guy was put in jail. And I wanted to give him a rose. Then give him a rose then I had that I had rose that I had, but he couldn't accept my gifts. Later on, months go by and I got into some activity that I shouldn't have. I won't get into it, but I ended up getting a text message from a number and they said they couldn't tell me who it was, but that I had to figure it out. But they were upset with what I was doing. And they told me that I had met them not too long ago and they thought that they were very hot. So I figured it was the cop messaging me. And so I asked him specific questions to see if it was him that no one else would have known. And he answered them. So I'm thinking it was him. And we started talking. Long story short, he was telling me that he's schizophrenic, has hepatitis B and other stuff that I won't mention. And I was trying to help him um that night. Sorry, I'm reading this and I haven't I haven't changed it. Their grammar's not very good. I was trying to help him that night. We spoke if it was him. I don't know. Then after all of this speaking, he said that I was going to destroy everything I've ever owned. But the next day, that he was going to. Oh my gosh. Okay. So sorry. Okay. So here it is. Long story short, the cop is telling this person that they are schizophrenic, they have hepatitis B and other stuff, and this writer was trying to figure out how to help him the night that we spoke, if it was that person. And so they tried to outreach and help them, and then this person, the anonymous person who they think is the cop, said that he was going to destroy everything that this person ever owned, the writer. Okay. The next day he apologized and said he was drunk. All right. So I left it alone. Months go by and I move into my new apartment, and this is where it gets creepy. I saw him in my building parking lot and he had a very evil smile on him, but it didn't look human. Then my landlord came up to me and said a cop came into my apartment and was searching through all my stuff, crying on my couch, saying he's very worried about me and I needed to go and that and then I go into my apartment and yes, everything was tossed around. I also forgot to mention that before I moved into my new place, I had arguments with my previous landlord and called the cop station. The cop I met answered the phone. Then we spoke a bit, and then he suddenly three ways with this writer's old social worker on the phone, and we're having a three-way conversation. And I'm like, how do you guys even know each other? But I do remember telling him that I was in love with my social worker and I only give the cop his name, not where he lived. And the cop was telling him things about me. And I was embarrassed on the phone. And the cop asked me, "Are you going to tell anyone what I spoke to you about?" And I said, "No," but accidentally I told the social worker on the other line that he has schizophrenia, and the cop was like, "Do you find it funny? What if it happened to you?" Well, after I move into my new place, I'm getting stalked by the cop. Months go by as I'm living there, and strange things were happening. Someone trying to open my door in the middle of the night. Anyway, I'm trying to get on medication for my anxiety, and they ended up putting me on a Lyrica, and I ended up having psychosis. I ran out of my apartment thinking people were coming in there to kill me. I went into the homeless shelter and woke up to a demonic voice that took the form of my sister, and I heard her voice, and me and my sister uh, are not on good terms. I've seen a big full moon. Then someone in my room with the lights off was laughing very evil and hysterically, and suddenly took a form of a man and was waving it at me, and it was very creepy. Then I saw black eyes on someone and someone's eyes rolling to the back of their head, and it didn't seem human. Then I also saw someone with red eyes speaking in a demonic voice to me. Also, someone took the form of my sister telling me how strong I am. I saw a lot more stuff too, but I'm trying to get to the point. During my psychosis, I had an image of my sister talking to me, telling me that I'm going through psychosis, but in a very annoying voice. But that's how I figured I was going through a psychosis my first time going through all of this, and that's where it ended, and I went to the hospital, and I was going through psychosis for 3 months straight and lost everything. Afterwards, I moved into my dad's house and COVID began. I stayed at my dad's for 3 years, stopped taking my pills because I figured there was nothing wrong with me. Then in 2022, a friend of mine passed away, and it was really sad, and I was really depressed. So one day, I was not doing very good, and I called the cops on myself because I was really depressed about his death, wishing God would just take my life instead of his. And then one day I ended up hearing my friend who passed away, his voice in my ear, and it happened twice. Then at nighttime, it was very late at night, and I asked God to show me a sign if he's real. Then the church bells rang to at close to 12 a.m. at night, and the church bells never ring at that time, usually on Sunday during the day. Then I went outside, looked at the moon, and said, "Do you find it funny what I'm going through?" And the moon suddenly disappeared. So, I figured they didn't find it funny, but all my hallucinations, started again, and this is where I thought I was God. Long story short, I started hallucinating one night, and I even felt like I should poke my eye out, but the next day I was begging for help, and the sun appeared next to me really big and bright, and I felt like I was healed. Then I figured I was going through another psychosis, so I went to the hospital, and it was very eerie feeling too, and I saw people with black eyes, and they looked demonic. The psychiatrist that came to me said in this her exact words that we were good business partners at one point. I didn't even know who she was. I just saw a lot of crazy stuff. Then I moved out of my dad's and lived somewhere else and got help. Forgot to mention when I was at the hospital, I've seen the cop again and it looked like him, but in a different form. And he just kept staring at me with black eyes. And then I had an image in my head that I was talking to myself and I said, "She's tricking you." Then later on, I was sleeping and I heard a man's voice saying, "I just like to scare her." Later on, I moved into a new place, then months go by and ended up moving and becoming homeless again. Forgot to take my meds too, so I went through another psychosis, and then one night, I was really upset. I was sitting in front of a coffee shop and there was no one there and it was closed. I was yelling at karma at the time, really upset because I was also facing a hotel where the windows were facing me, and once I was yelling at karma, I saw 3 tall black figures at the hotel windows facing me, and they were all men waving at me, very scary and for very good few minutes. Wasn't like a human. I just want to know, is something out there trying to ruin my life or just give me a sign? The first time it happened, I wasn't in a good state and planning on moving away. And this only happens when I plan to leave. And I have asked whatever is out there to give me a sign. The last time it happened to me, I did ask for a sign that this is all real. That is it. All right. That one's not as paranormal as I thought it would be. Bad choice on my part. But very fascinating. I would say I feel like this one's more inclined to mental illness. And I have been kind of looking into a little bit more um like like otherworldly stuff. Because I just don't think that spirituality consists of just ghosts, demons, God. Like there's got to be more. Truthfully, I feel like that's not just everything. Like there's so many creatures on this planet. Anyway, so I feel like maybe this person has like an attachment to them and are handling and dealing with mental illness and kind of going through the works of life and are starting to see things that may not be there or to see signs from some sort of attachment on them that is making them feel like they're going crazy. I don't know, but I would say definitely try to do a lot more mental work on yourself, try to do a lot more spiritual work, try to figure out what you're seeing and why you're seeing it and what you can do. And I would say, yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign either to um change up your life, fix your life, and to create a better life for yourself or whatever. But also it's a sign that uh I feel like you just I feel like it's just a sign that like you need to change something in your life. Like that's what the sign is. Anyway, very interesting. But if you found this episode helpful, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Performance by K for more fitness facts, myth busting, practical tips, mobility videos, all the works that are all on there. Um, and then thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Debunking Fitness by K.